Done.
Okay, perfect. Is my screen visible?
Yep.
Okay, so all right. Hello everyone, and welcome to this first session of Coding Agents in Action with UiPath. So today we are going to explore something that is rapidly changing the way software today is built. That is coding agents. And if you've been following what's happening in software development recently, you've probably seen tools like Cloud Code, Codex, and other coding agents, which are becoming increasingly popular. So what are these, right? So developers are using them to understand code bases, create application, fix bugs. They also use it to write tests, run commands, and whatnot. And alongside coding agent, we have also seen another term that is becoming vibe coding. So vibe coding is basically an idea that instead of you manually writing every line of code or configuring every part of an application yourself, you just describe what you want and you observe what the AI creates for you. You provide feedback on it, and you continue and keep on iterating this loop until you reach the desired result that you started with. Okay, so most of the examples we see around coding agents with Cloud Code, Codex, be it any coding agent, are focused on traditional software development, right? Which is building websites, creating applications, working with Python, JavaScript, APIs, all traditional software development, right? And other code-based project. But I feel that audience that we have here today is we should ask the question like, if I want to explore, what I want to explore today is what happens when we bring this development model of coding agent into the UiPath ecosystem. For a normal automation developer, how does this change the game? Uh, can we describe an automation requirement and collaborate with a such coding agent to build an automation? Can an agent actually understand what a UiPath architecture or UiPath project looks like? Right? Can it create workflows for you? Can it analyze those projects? Can it fix bugs within those workflows? Can it also package and deploy these automations on your cloud, interact with your orchestrator? So, all in all, how does this change the role of an automation developer when we start working this way? So that's what we are going to explore in this session. And we are not only going to discuss this through slides, we are going to see coding agents working with UiPath ecosystem through some practical demonstration as well today. So by the end of this session, I'm sure I want you to understand these three things. That one is what coding agents actually are, how they work or interact with UiPath ecosystem or UiPath platform, and what this new development model could mean for a normal automation developers. So with this context in mind, let's start with something every automation developer in this audience, I'm sure, will recognize. So if you look at the slide in your screen. So as developers, we have all seen this loop, right? A new request comes in, we break it into small steps. Now, according to those steps, we create XAML files, we configure activities in Studio, then we write tests on those workflows that we have created, and we wait for a review. So this is a typical loop of activities which every developer, every automation developer today follows. But this is set to change with the introduction of coding agents for UiPath ecosystem. So before we define what coding agents is, it's very useful to understand how the way we interact with AI for development has evolved with time. So we started with something called as chatbots. So most of us have used tools like ChatGPT or similar AI assistants, right? So the interaction there is very straightforward. You ask a question, the AI gives you an answer. So for example, you might ask, how can I filter a data table in UiPath? Or perhaps you paste an error message and ask the chatbot to explain the problem. So the chatbot provides guidance. It may generate some code for you. It may suggest a solution, but you are still responsible for taking that answer and implementing it inside your UiPath Studio or project, right? The AI sits outside your development environment. So it can advise you, but it doesn't perform the work for you, right? So then we move towards something called as Copilot style auto-completion. Now AI started becoming part of your development environment itself. So as you write code, the AI started predicting what you might want to write next. that is autocomplete, right? It can complete a line for you, it can generate a function, maybe create a block of code. And this, I am talking about traditional software development. You might have seen in this auto completion feature in when working with code in VS Code. Or it can also suggest an implementation based on the surrounding context. So this started reducing the amount of code developers needed to write manually. But this interaction is still largely developer driven, right? So you are deciding where to work, you open the file, you start writing the code, and AI just suggests what will come next. So you decide whether to accept those changes or reject those suggestions. Now we move towards coding agents. So this is where the interaction model has changed significantly. So instead of asking what code should I write or waiting for AI to complete the code I am currently writing, I can give the agent a higher level goal. So for example, that goal could be something like create an automation that reads all CSV files from an input folder, consolidate them into an Excel file, and email the result. That is a very high level goal, right? So now the coding agents can then start working towards that goal. It can inspect the project, your UiPath project, understand the files and project structure within the studio environment, determine what it needs to create or what it needs to modify. It can create those files, modify existing files. It can run commands for you. It can build and analyze projects for you, observe errors, make correction. So the fundamental difference is the level at which we start interacting with AI here. With a chatbot, we can ask questions and receive answers. With Copilot-style auto-completion, AI is assisting you while we perform the implementation. But with coding agents, we delegate just a goal to the agent, and for the rest of the journey, we just collaborate with the agent as it works towards completing that goal. Okay, so now the developer moves from being a person performing every implementation step to someone who just provides direction, context, constraints, and feedback as the agent performs its task. Yeah, and there is one more important difference. Coding agent doesn't simply generate something once and stop. It works through a loop, what we call an agentic loop, that is driven through a goal. So it understands the goal, it takes action to achieve that goal, observe the results it has taken, it also reasons what it has done, and then decide what to do next, whether that goal is achieved or not. So this ability of an agent to reason, do action, observe what it has done, and iterate is what makes coding agent fundamentally different from AI development tools we have used before. So now that we have understood what a coding agent is, the next question is, where do we what do we actually need to do in order to start using a coding agent within my UiPath ecosystem or within my UiPath studio, let's say. So let's move to the prerequisites for this. So the setup is actually quite straightforward, and the slide shows it the order in which these components come together. So, and I don't know if you have seen the latest version of UiPath Studio, the 2026 version. So with the latest Studio version, Studio still remains a development environment. One important addition is that now Studio comes with a built-in terminal. So this means we can work with command line tools and coding agents directly from the Studio environment. We don't need to constantly have switch between Studio and an external terminal and other development tools. So we can open terminal inside the Studio and work from there directly. The next prerequisite or the important prerequisite here is having Node.js. So why do we need Node.js? Because we are going to use npm, the Node package manager, to install UiPath CLI, right? So once the UiPath CLI is extremely important in this setup, so it provides a command line interface for interacting with UiPath and its platform. And through these commands, we can work with UiPath projects and different platform capabilities. And this becomes particularly important for coding agents. So a coding agent need some tools through which it can take actions, right? And without having any tool, an AI model can only tell us what to do, but it cannot actually perform those operations. So the UiPath CLI provides an execution mechanism through which the coding agent can perform UiPath related actions, right? So we'll understand the CLI in more detail later in this session later on. So once the CLI is installed, the next prerequisite is an authenticated session. So in simple terms, we need to be logged in. For that, we need access to a UiPath Automation Cloud account. And this authentication allows the CLI or a terminal, and therefore the coding agent using the CLI to interact with UiPath platform or interact with my cloud account or orchestrator or different platform capabilities. And this is also an important point from a security and governance perspective. So the agent isn't automatically given unlimited access to your UiPath platform. The action it can perform depend on the identity and the permission of the authenticated session in which we are working. And finally, we need the coding agent itself. So as you know, the coding agent can be of your choice. It can be anything starting from Cloud Code, Codex, Gemini CLI, Copilot CLI, Cursor, or Open Code. That depends totally on you. So this coding agent provides the reasoning and orchestrating capability that we were discussing. We just describe what we want to accomplish. The agent understands the requirement and it determines what actions are necessary to be taken. So it uses the available tools such as UiPath CLI in our case to achieve that goal. So the complete flow looks like this. So you have your UiPath Studio with its built-in terminal. You have Node.js, which gives us npm. Npm allows us to install the UiPath command line tool, which is UiPath CLI. And then we authenticate and establish a logged in UiPath session using our automation cloud account. And finally, we use a coding agent such as Cloud Code or Codex. So once these components are ready, are available with us, we have the basic environment required that is needed in order to start collaborating with these coding agents on UiPath projects. And let me stop talking on these points and let's see this build in Studio. So I hope my studio is visible. So we'll start setting up the session here. So this is the latest version of Studio, which comes with a built-in terminal. So we don't need an extra terminal open up and in order to interact with the UiPath project. So the first thing that I need is to install the command line tool, which is UiPath CLI. So I have my command here. Let me paste it. Okay, so we have installed the command line. Now, next thing is I should authenticate my session. So if I do UIP login, it will authenticate with my cloud account with an interactive session. Okay, so I'm already logged in into my cloud account. So I can go back. Yeah, so you see my authentication is successful and I can see my organization, the tenant I am logged into. I only have one tenant, so it has taken that by default. Otherwise, we would have seen an option to choose a tenant. Now, the next important thing is to actually install skills. I'll tell you what skills are and where do they fit, why are they needed, and how we work with them. But let's just install them. And we install skills for a particular agent. So in today's session, I'll be working with Claude. So I'm installing these skills for Claude. Meanwhile, if you have any question, you can unmute and ask while we are doing the setup. Okay.
Hello. Hi, Rajnish.
Hi.
Aniket here.
Yeah, Niket.
Yeah, Rajnish, this version, which is the version, and is it generally available to everyone,
Yeah,
or
I'm using a community version which is STS as of now. It's 2026.2.197.
and how about the enterprise license holders?
So currently the LTS for this version is it's currently in pipeline. It's not available yet, but for starting purpose, you can still use this.
Okay.
Uh, Hi Rajnish, it's Rajan this side, and
Yeah,
I
Rajan.
wanted to know about that. Is Claude Claude Enterprise license is needed, or the Claude free version will be integrated with the UiPath?
No, so the coding agent is a separate entity that is brought by the user or you. So the subscription is handled by you. So it could be any agent. It could be Codex. It could be Cloud Code. It could be Open Code, which is open source, Gemini, CLI, whatever. So that is a separate entity that you as a user bring. So but UiPath supports all coding agents. You can bring in any coding agent and work with that. So that is not something that comes with UiPath licensing if you are asking.
Okay, so right now you are doing with Claude, so you have licenses for
I
that.
have I have Cloud Code subscription. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So
I'll just
for
stop.
free,
Hmm.
can you suggest like any free that it will be integrated? VS Code,
You
I think.
can you can use Open Code. Open Code is an open source coding agent which provides you some basic access to open source coding agent models that you can utilize and play around with.
Okay, so there will be command difference also to install the
Yeah,
other
it's,
VS
it's
Code
just
or
instead of this in this line, instead of just mentioning Cloud, you can mention Open Code. But first, you need to install Open Code as a CLI tool separately within your system.
You have to complete
Then
your setup in
okay.
your system.
yeah,
Once it is done, then you can go on
yeah,
launching
correct.
your
Yeah, I got
certificate.
it.
Okay, I'll just pause taking
Yeah.
questions for now. We'll just continue with the demo. So after installing skills, you see we have installed skills based on different capabilities of UiPath platform, like from creating agents, RP workflows, HRTL governance. We'll cover these. We'll see what these different capabilities are and what they allow us to do later. So once the skills are installed, let me fire up my Claude. Yes, I trust this folder. So my Claude session is running, and if I ask it like what skills uh, do you have to work with, let's say UiPath. So it should go through its skill repository, and since we have already installed those skills, it should tell me what all it can do with UiPath. And then as the next thing in the demo, we'll ask it to create a basic UiPath workflow that creates a basic XAML on a switch activity. So we'll work with this is an empty project. We don't have anything right now. We just show that. So we don't have any variables. The XAML is clean. Everything is fresh. So what we are asking here to do is create a UiPath workflow that uses a switch on a string variable status that it should create, and based on the value of string it should log a different message for condition new, for condition open, or a default case, just to get started. So you see it tells me what all skills it have and in which case it can use what skill to do, what different functions of UiPath it can use admin to assign roles, permission, tenants, audit. It has testing capabilities, planning capabilities, PDD to SDD, and whatnot. We'll see those. Let's put this prompt here and let it work. We'll come back for the results and we'll see we'll walk through these prerequisites that we have just installed in detail, like what these are. So first is your UiPath CLI that we installed. So let's talk about UiPath CLI. Now, most automation developers like us are used to interacting with UiPath through some graphical interfaces, right? So we open Studio to build workflows. We open Orchestrator or Automation Cloud to manage processes. But CLI or command line interface provides another interface to the same capabilities, right? Which is commands. We can do the same things using commands in command line. So, for example, instead of you manually navigating through interfaces, we can perform operations programmatically. We can write command line code for that, and we can do every function that you do today with these UI interaction with CLI, and that is being enabled by this UiPath CLI package. So we can create projects, analyze projects, pack them, deploy them as packages, manage processes, interact with assets, queues, create triggers. You can perform administrative operations, you name it. Now, here's the important connection that it brings to coding agents. So, a coding agents need tools, as we discussed, right? Because reasoning alone is not enough. So, if you imagine asking an AI deploy this automation, if the AI has no way to interact with the platform, with UiPath platform, it can only tell you how to deploy the automation. But if the agent has access to UiPath CLI, which is this tool, it can execute the deployment operation for you, right? So this is why I like to describe the CLI as the execution layer in this architecture. Next thing I want you to understand is skills. We installed some skills right now. What are these skills? Some of you may know, some of you may not know. So when people first hear about skills generally, they sometimes imagine them as plugins or activities. But skill is fundamentally just a set of instructions written in a markdown file that teaches a coding agent how to perform a particular task. It is just plain language instructions. And you, for analogy, you can think about a new developer that joins your automation team. They may know some programming, they may understand automation, but they won't know your organization's development standard, right? So for that, you will give them documentation, you will give them project templates, some best practices that you follow in your organization. So over the time, that developer learns how work should be performed within your organization. That domain level knowledge is passed to the developer, right? So a skill provides something similar for a coding agent. So it gives the agent structured instructions. And on your screen, you can see just a snippet of a skill in your just a snippet of a skill, which is UiPath solution. Uh, so for example, if you say how to create a UiPath solution, how project should be structured, what command should be used, how validation should happen, what files need to exist before this task is performed. So the skill file contains these instructions that agent can read on the go and follow them when executing that task. And this becomes important because large language models, they do have general knowledge, but general knowledge isn't always enough to reliably perform platform specific tasks or activities, right? They need to have that domain knowledge. So skills provide context for this matter, and they also provide the guidance that should be followed for these operations. So the relationship in a gist looks something like this. The model or the coding agent provides general intelligence. The coding agent provides reasoning capabilities and execution capabilities. Now skills provide you domain specific instructions, and the CLI provides actions. So together they can create the environment in which an agent can work effectively with UiPath platform and work with these capabilities. Now, let's see the skills, like where do they fit in what phases of a process life cycle. So let's expand this idea. So build-in workflow is obviously one part of automation lifecycle, which is the most important one, which takes most time, right? But think about everything that happens around an automation project. We create solutions, we analyze requirements, we develop these workflows, we test them, we create packages, deploy them as processes, then configuration on assets, queues, triggers, and then also come the natural maintenance of these. So each of these areas can potentially have their own skill or their own set of instruction, their own set of domain knowledge. So this means your coding agents aren't limited to just generating XAML files or CS files. They can actually assist you across the entire automation lifecycle. So for development, an agent might help create workflows or modify existing projects. For testing, an agent might generate tests, execute them, analyze failures, and suggest fixes. For a DevOps, you can imagine the agent might package it and deploy the solution on cloud. For administration, an agent might configure these platform resources. So, and we'll see these capabilities demo in the next session, in session 2. So the larger idea here is not like an AI can generate UiPath workflows, but the idea is AI agents can participate through the entire automation life cycle, right? And I think that's a much bigger shift. And here is the full portfolio of these skills that we have. So this slides gives us a broader, view of skills available for different types of UiPath work. And I don't want you to memorize every skill shown here. So instead, you can just look at the categories of work that we have here, from solution development, workflow creation, testing, analysis, deployment, platform management, administrations. So these skills provide coding agents with those instructions for performing these UiPath specific tasks. Now you can imagine combining multiple skills in a prompt. So if I say take this requirement document, create a UiPath solution out of it, build the workflow, analyze the project, fix critical issues, and then package the solution and deploy it. So that requirement spans multiple stages of life cycle, right? Now, the agent can potentially use different skill and CLI capabilities to complete different parts of the task, right? First, it will take the instruction from a particular skill, and then in order to perform those action, it will use the UiPath CLI commands, right? The agent will use that. So this is where this is where things become interesting, right? The agent now determines the sequence of actions required to achieve the outcome that you may give. So let me pause here and show you the skills repository. So, so these skills, these UiPath skills are in public domain. You can go there, check out the instructions, the whole file, how the instructions are written uh, to work with agents. You can even contribute to them if you want, if that is something you are interested in, right? So this I'll leave it up to you to check out. Let's go back to Studio and check the execution. So the XAML is actually created. It took some 4.5 minutes. So it has created a variable called status and done my two conditions, which were open, new, and a default. I can even run this if you want, but any questions? I can take one question and then we can move forward. Okay, it does work. Okay, I'll be here to answer the question in chat, but for a second demo, a much complex demo, I would like to pass on to Vivek. So Vivek, all yours.
Sure. Thank you, Rajneesh. So yeah, hello everyone. So far Rajneesh has explained so what is an coding agent and how does it work and what are the skills, UiPath skills available and all, right? So now we are going to see the coding agent in action. So let's see how in real time how how it's doing the development and how it's creating a workflow. Okay, so in our current demo, so I have only the PDD with me. So with the help of PDD, I'm just going to pass this PDD in the prompt, and so the agent is going to build the complete project for me, complete workflow for me. And so here is the prompt. So the one which I am highlighting, right? So I'm just saying create a UiPath, sorry. Yeah, I'm just saying create a UiPath workflow as per the requirement mentioned in the employee bonus PDD. Okay, that's all is my prompt. And our agent, what it's going to do is it is going to read the PDD and it is going to extract all the details from the PDD, and it will analyze the PDD. And in the PDD, what all the task is being provided. So it will be deriving the list of tasks that it needs to perform, and it will be scaffolding the project. Like it will be creating the project structure, and then finally it is going to build a complete workflow. So in the complete workflow, it will be adding the what all the list of activities, or if it is a flow chart. So based on the requirement, so it will be able to perform all the actions in the, I mean, all set of activities that we require. And also if it is any configuration or any additional logic, if it is been provided in the PDD, that also it will be able to add it. Okay, so post it create, it will be able to, in case if we required, it will be also able to create and run the test cases. And until it is being, the test cases are being passed, it will be able to keep on iterating until the test cases are success. By it, it will be able to try to fix the issues also by itself. Okay, so let me show the UiPath Studio, and let's see the agent in action. Okay, so now I have the empty workflow, and the main, I do not have any sequence or activities. And here I have only the data with me. I'll show that, but I'll just start running first due to time constraint. Will take some time, so will just start running it. Yeah, here is my prompt. So before that, I need to start my Claude, right? So I'm just giving Claude. So I type Claude. Yes, I trust this folder. So yeah, so it has been already logged in. Since for the first time that when you set up the Claude, you need to log in with the authentication, like how Rajnish showed you, right? So like that, we have to authenticate with the Chrome browser. Okay, so after that, from the second time, it will not ask you. So here I'm going to pass my prompt. I have already copied the prompt. So I am just giving us create a UiPath workflow with the PDD. Okay, and I'm hitting the enter. So in case if it is, it will be keep on asking you questions, right? So yeah, it is asking. So like, do you want to proceed with the reading the file, all this thing? So in case if you wanted to avoid it, you can just simply give Shift Tab. So it will be set to auto, accept edit on. So it will be skipped. Whatever the questions asked, it will be skipped. So let it proceed with the creating the project, and let's just quickly, I'll show you the what we have in the PDD and what we are going to do it. Okay, so before that, this is my input Excel. So I have employee ID, name, department, salary, and performance rating, and this is my input. So let me see the show you the PDD. So PDD we have given it is in given it in MD format. You can also give it in any other format, like you can have it to be, let it be a doc, Word file, or a PDD. A PDF, and so on. Okay, so it can be any format, and it will be able to read it. So here we have given the project details, and the scope. In the scope, we have like, it is a simple project that I have, like I am reading an employee data Excel file, and it is filtering the records based on the performance rating. If it is more than 3, and if it is more than 3, if it is meeting the criteria, it will be adding the bonus to the qualified employees. Okay, this is my simple requirement. And finally, it will be whichever is being available with the bonus, it will be filtered and added it to the into a separate sheet. Okay, this is my requirement. And I have further have like a process overview, business context, an automation opportunity, input, and where the file is being saved. So see, I didn't say in the prompt where the file input file is there. It all took it from the PDD itself. Okay, so yeah, we have this data schema and all this stuff. So it is asking me, let me give yes. Okay, it'll let it continue. So meanwhile, yeah, let me go with the further. Yeah. So now let's see. So what the shift in practice? Okay. So like the same job that we have done earlier, and how it has been different in shape now. Okay. So previously development. So development. So like we used to manually create a new workflow, and we used to drag and drop the activities, and we have to indicate the selectors. We have to wire the selectors, and we have to each and everything we have to do it in a hand built, right? So now it's completely being shifted, like we are just going to describe what we need. Okay, so what we need we'll describe with either by PDD, or we can also with a set of rules also you can provide with completely with the prompt also you can provide. Then the agent will scaffold and build the project, and our task is just to review whether it has done it whatever as per our expectation. Okay, so that is the main change that we did earlier and now what we do. So this it's like it's automation for a development itself, right? So in the development we were doing all the manual tasks before, many repetitive tasks, all those being automated now. So yeah, that's the main change in the development. And even in the testing, so earlier we used to write and run the test cases one by one, and and then we have to wait for every run. But now the situation is not like that. We just tell the agent to generate the test, and we tell him to run the test. So similarly, it will be able to generate the test sets, and it will be running every test cases, and and also it will be able to iterate the failures. Like in case if there is any failures, it will be able to analyze what is the error, and it will be able to even like fix what is the issue, or it can suggest what in case if there is any any options that it can we can fix. So it will provide us the option, and we'll be able to take a call on that. So yeah, so that way so it will be able to easily test it. And even for DevOps, so earlier we used to manually pack it, publish it, and deploy it. So now the agent itself, it's being it automates everything. Like we can give a prompt to pack, publish, and deploy everything. And but still we use the same CLI for pipeline. Okay, so this is mainly for main advantage for DevOps and managing. So like so earlier, like from the orchestrator, we used to create, we have to go for the particular folder and create either asset, queue, or any folder also we may need to create. But now it is in the with a prompt itself in a normal words. In a plain language, we'll be able to convey like, can you create folders and asset and from development to QA, or like we can you create all the setup in the another environment. So if you give such kind of prompt, it will be able to create easily. But earlier it's not like that. So everything we have to go for every specific folder and create every individual asset. But now it will be easier to do that. So, and when it comes for admin, again, we have to, in case if we need to set the identity or roles, so setting the user, so we have to go for the admin tab, and we have to do all those stuff, right? So now it's like with again with our plain language itself, the natural language itself, it will be able to handle. Um, but still, so even though we do it from the agent, so the it goes through the orchestrator resource itself. So it's not taking over the control. Still, everything is intact. So the whole control we have on the admin still. Okay. Well, let me just quickly see what happened to our project. This has two more. Yes, let me just give us. Okay. Yeah. So now, meanwhile, we'll see. So, on perspective of a developer, what is the change? Yeah, as we said, see earlier. So very now the grunt work, the manual work that we do earlier, it's completely being reduced, and the developers instead of like doing the manual work again and again, so we will. The agent is doing that repetitive work for us, and the developers are becoming more judgmental. So like agent is creating our workflow, and we are going to judge whether it is right or not, or if we are in the right track or not. Okay, so further after it creates, we can review it completely, like so we can run and see, and did we meet our requirement? That we can do it. We can spend our time on those things, and so there is no drag and drop. Now with the agent, and so we can spend more time on designing the decisions and edging the specific like business scenario cases, and finally we can do the review. Okay, so there we can spend our time more productively. And so even though we are doing it in with I mean we're doing this with the agent, so it can be, you can do it in any of the IDEs. Either it can be a PowerShell, or it can be an command prompt, or it can be any other like Visual Code. So any other IDEs it can be. So yeah. So, and these are all the advantages on the developer perspective, and the admin perspective, the governance still remains the same. So there is no side door. So what all the security that we have is still intact. Like the governed runtime, whatever we did earlier manually, that is also same as we see now. Only that interface is being changed. Okay, so yeah, as we see, like orchestrator is running it, and automation ops is applying the policy. That's all. So yeah, the identity, like whatever this we set the identity or R back model and audit and all, it remains intact. There is no change in that. The security that remains behind the scene is same how it was earlier. Okay, the agent is just acting as your own session. So it's not something else different. It's just your own session. Just it's a different interface. That's all. Okay. So on the leadership perspective, what it changes, the main thing is speed of the project. So the backlog which we move, which has been moved earlier, it's been there is a tremendous change. So that we do it with the agent. So like development that we did earlier, so sometimes it takes days, right? So that can be done in hours now. So since we have all the PD, we will be having the PDDs ready and the set of rules ready. So with the prompt itself, so the agent will do our work for us, and we are just going to review it. So the agent will, how long it takes, so only that matters. Okay, so and cleanup. When it comes for cleanup, I experienced it like where there is a very drastic change. Like before, we used to go for every individual workflow, and we have to go for every activities, and we have to clean up the code. We have to set up the annotations for every activity, like every sequence or activities we have to name it. So all those things the cloud can just handle with just we can just set up code like instruction, like do a complete code with proper annotations, log titles, like that. So yeah, again, what we need to do, provide a prompt. That also, the prompt itself we can build it separate agent. So then we can provide that prompt again to this coding agent. So that's how I do in real time. Okay, so yeah, there is no lock-in. So it's not specific to one single agent. So since this agent.md is open, so we can use it for with any agent. And yeah, it iterates whenever it do iterates and all. So it does it with AI speed. So it's not with just with like how we do with a human. So it's not like that. So the speed is very great. when it goes with the agent. Okay. Let me quickly check what's going on there. Again,
You can do one more shift tab, Vivek, and set it to auto.
shift tab.
One more. Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. So yeah. And this works with any coding agent. So currently we are using Claude, right? So we just gave command as Claude. So instead of that, you can so first you can set up whatever the agent CLI you require. I think Rajneesh already covered it. So where we have to install those agents, and then while installing the skills, so it will ask for which agent we have to install the skills. Like it will list out what all the agents it is available or it supports. So it will start like it will specify all these agents: Claude, Cursor, Copilot, or Gemini, Codex, Open Code. You can select the required agent, and you can go on. Okay. So after that, it will the agent the skills is same only. So it works same only. The only the code only the coding agent that we use will be same. I mean different. Okay. So, and it works for any automation that we do. So now currently I'm showing you the RPA, but it doesn't only stop with RPA. It also works with agentic AI or agentic case management and process orchestration. Um, RPA, we already see it, right? So UI automation and enterprise connectivity, any connectors you do, so that also we can do, and any vertical solutions or UiPath apps. Okay, so all this we can build, and this works throughout the life cycle of our project, like starting from the planning. Even before, like when we get the requirement, you can from the requirement you can provide, and you can ask it to build a PDD also, and you can create the STD out of PDD, and from there you can plan for the solution, and then you can build the project. Then you can debug, and in case if there is any issue with the debugging, like any like selector issues also, any error it comes show ups, it will be able to fix by itself. So, and also not only building a new project, you can also existing project also you can any change request also you can just give a prompt, and you will be able to fix it. Okay, so yeah, so I stopped with the debugging, right? So you can do debugging and testing, and finally you can do the review of complete project, whatever it has done, and like a code review, like you can have a separate some specific standards, some coding standards, and it will be able to follow. You can just simply tell to do the generic. Coding standard, but also in case if you have any organization specific coding standard also, you can give the instructions, or you can provide in the skills.md file, and you can make that to follow the same standards that you have in their organization. And also it can help in deploy and operate. So overall it covers end to end, it will be able to cover. Okay, so yeah, meanwhile let me see. See, you can see in background, like, so it is being created. So while creating itself, you will be able to see that's that main advantage. Like, so it has created with login flow, and it has read range and logs again, and it has added a new column, and it has did a for each loop, and inside that it has set up a condition by itself. So it has having see all this manipulations and all integer manipulations and all it is done, and it is assigning. So all these activities is filtering the table, and finally writing also it has done. So write range also it has done. I think it is in the terminal, it is completed. It should be still it is running. Um, but pretty much this is what the workflow that we need. So I'm just waiting for this one to complete. So it took 8 minutes. Hardly, I think it will take some 10 minutes for this simple workflow. Since I wanted to have only this simple workflow, so it will take this much time. So any complicated may take some more time based on the recommend. Yeah, I think it's done. Here it's a summary. What was it has listed down all the what it has done. So it has specified all the activities. So meanwhile, I can just simply run. I'll just run to test this. So I have already reviewed this, right? So my in case if I do it manually, it may take more time than this expected. Definitely, it has done it in 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes. I think 8 minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to run this.
So guys, we are almost done with the content that we wanted to deliver. So feel free to unmute and ask your questions.
Yeah. Hi, Rajnish. Aniket here again.
Yeah,
Thank
Niket.
you, Rajnish and Vivek for the demo. So, question is like the demo we saw just now for both was not having UI interactions or UI
Mhm.
activities, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how it will handle the UI elements identification and selectors thing?
Okay, so just to give you a quick answer, the demo that we show in next session will be building a UI automation in RE framework. So you'll get a good idea with that. But in general, like if you just ask it plainly to interact, let's say with a website and create UI automation out of it. So under the hood, what it does it opens something called as a headless browser, and it captures the UI elements of the particular your target system, whether it is a desktop application or a web application, and creates a object repository for that application. And then how it is configuring, let's say Excel activities in this demo, it configures your UI automation activities with type intos, clicks and everything, and places those elements that it has created object repository of into those activities.
Rajanish, one more question. Sorry, I joined a bit late. I'm not sure
Yeah,
whether
Deepak.
below topic is covered or not. To use that
Hmm.
cloud, are we supposed to take any subscription or is it comes like free of cost,
Yes.
Rajanish?
So particularly for Cloud Code, you do need a subscription, and that is the same case with Codex and others as well. But
Yeah.
I think you do have some free trial capability available with Copilot CLI, and there's also an open source coding agent called Open Code that has
Hmm.
some free small models that you can use and just play around with the capabilities. But that has also a limit. But in order to play around, you can use that.
Okay.
So yeah, to cover this, like so we have this code studio has ran the process, and we have this output. So our criteria was whichever the performance is greater than 3. So we wanted to create a separate column called bonus and add the bonus to it, and add it to a different separate sheet. So yeah, this is done as per the expectation. And the special thing is I didn't do any change in the code. So I just whatever I have given my expectation, it has met with a single shot, right? This is great.
So this basically drills down to your prompt engineering, right? Like how well your prompt or your requirement is structured, the less number of loops your agent takes in order to take feedback from you and continue or reiterate the task it has done. So everything depends on the prompt that you are giving it. If it's very vague, the goal is not clear, then it would come back to you again and again requiring more information. But if in one shot or the first shot you're given a, let's say, a very detailed document or a very good prompt, then you consume less token and your results are also delivered fast.
Yeah, hi Rajanish. I have two questions. The first
Yeah, Mustaq.
question, yep. So first question was basically if we instruct the cloud or any agentic code to eliminate the errors or warning from the workflow analyzer, is that possible?
You mean to say that rules that are written in workflow
Y-
analyzer?
Yes, say for if you have some sort of workflow analyzer rule you have set as warning
Hmm.
or as an error. Now we want to fix the error. Say for if it is related to any kind of workflow analyzer rule set, maybe
Hmm.
the naming convention, or maybe the nested if else rules usage, or maybe the usage of the
Yeah,
security.
yeah.
If are we able to fix
I'll
those
mhm.
issues? That was
I'll
the
I'll I'll just quickly check the skills repository for that. If a skill for that functionality is available, surely we can do it. I'll answer this in the chat. I'll just have to check the repo.
Cool, awesome. And I have one more questions. I'm not sure if this is a valid question as well. Say for if we
Mhm.
have to create some sort of asset in back to an orchestrator. So
Mhm.
currently, what we are doing that is working in downstream process. Will that work on the upstream process? Like if you want to create one asset, say for the asset type as credentials, and we have passed
Mhm.
the name and the value. Will that take and create an asset?
It will surely do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the second step that we did, which was UIP login, right?
Yeah.
So your CLI is able is the I mean the session is able to interact with your automation cloud account. So if
Mhm.
you as a user has access to create assets in one particular folder, and if you
Mhm.
ask the agent to do the same, it would do this. It would do it for you. So
Cool.
I've seen a lot of question around these capabilities. So
Mhm.
we have in the second session we show these other capabilities as well,
Sure.
like
Thanks.
interacting with orchestrator, deploying and managing processes, permission licensing. We'll show that in the next session.
Awesome. Thank you, Rajnish.
Yeah, Vivek, you can.
Yeah. So yeah. So in the next section, we are going to have another set of demo, like with a even more advanced concept of coding agent. So yeah, I think. So anything, Rajnish, you wanted to add on that?
No, that's all. So in today's session, we focused on the build capability of this coding agent because that is where we as developers most of our times with. But in again, as I said, in the next session, we'll see other capabilities as well, like deploying, managing assets, queues, triggers, provisioning machines, licensing, will and also creating UI automations, right? That is the most pain point of the time we spent in these building these automations. So we'll do that. And Vivek, can you go to the next slide? So the link for the next sessions and for the whole program is already there in the chat. But if you want to scan this QR code, you can do that as well. Yeah, so that's all we wanted to deliver. I hope this was something interesting and be that pivoting moment as the same that we have with introduction of Gen AI and agentic AI. So yeah, this I think this is the big thing that actually changed the way we as developers work in our day-to-day life. So we're here for the next 5 minutes. If you guys wanna ask any questions, feel free to do so, or you can just drop. Thank you.
Rajnish, in VS Code, right, in
Mhm.
extensions, we are able to see UiPath CLI. So does that do the same steps which we did in the beginning in today's demo?
So CLI is basically your tool, right? So let's say again, I guess you asked create an assets or someone asked, right? So if you want to create assets via terminal, so there is a command with this command line tool. So it would be UIP, then minus minus your folder name, minus minus your asset name, asset type, all those. It's a very complex command, right? So with the installation of that CLI, you can run that command manually yourself within, let's say, VS Code terminal or any other terminal. But then what happens when you package it with a coding agent is your coding agent has the knowledge of creating these commands for you and running them for you. So that extension is nothing, just the tool that we install as the first step.
It's like the integration service what we are using for your Action Center, AI Center, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that, it's like an integration service for us.
So we need to do both the steps, is it? Like if we are going with VS Code, need to install CLI and follow the Node.js and all those setup, and
Yeah.
then install the extension, or
Yes.
anyone would work.
Yeah, if you want to interact with the UiPath platform in general with any coding agent, you do need to have UiPath CLI installed. And in order to install that, you do need Node.js.
Okay, okay. Because after installing that extension, right, I'm getting that UiPath autopilot and that UiPath window coming in the VS Code. So that's what the confusion was. Like, was it overridden or installed twice, or that is the valid approach. Like in first I installed Node.js and followed that instruction which was given in the documentation. I attended DevCon and all those sessions also, previous sessions also. I followed those instructions and got that installed with all those be it Node.js, .NET framework, and then UiP, like you mentioned, CLI with VS Code, then login status and all those things. It was working fine, but then in extension, one of my team member mentioned that in extension we have UiPath. Is it the same one? When I went ahead and installed it, it started coming up, and in the description and details, I see that it is also doing the same thing. So that was the confusion actually. Just wanted to understand which is the
I
best
mean,
approach.
yeah, I would say instead of complicating it with the extension, directly open a terminal and install the CLI.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we are already over time. You feel
Rakesh,
free to, yeah, Vikrant.
is there any licensing cost apart from, I mean, from the UiPath and we don't have, but when we go to the enterprise,
No,
is there any
from
LLM
UiPath
cost
side,
structure?
from UiPath side, there is no cost for using this because UiPath has just given you this command line tool and skills that are nothing but empty files, right? The cost that occurs is at your end when you use a coding agent that is under your subscription. So from UiPath side, there is no cost.
Okay.
So Rajnish, coding agent we can use only in 2026 version, or we can use in existing like 2023 or 24.
I mean, only difference with 26 version is like you get an inbuilt terminal within your studio, right? So right now also you can do, but you would have to open a terminal separately and open the path of your UiPath project and then work with it, right? Uh, so with 26, the only benefit that you get is the terminal is built in. You don't have to go anywhere. You can see all the changes and edits happening live.
Okay, got that. So in existing also we can use it.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and let us also know.
I guess you have to install
4 and above.
2024.10.6. Yeah, I guess.
Mm. Only the restriction I could see is happening from a dependency version point of view. Let's say system dependency, Next and everything. So that may be not supported before 24.
Yeah.
But yeah, those parallelly you must be able to do. All right, so you're already over 11 minutes, so I'll leave this state for here of now. We'll continue in the next session. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Vivek, or Mani via LinkedIn or our WhatsApp group. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thanks,
See you in the
everyone.
next
Have a
one.
great
Thank
day.
you, Ron.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.